as promised this morning in the podcast, I said I'd upload a quick little tolerance calculator that you can use. Pretty easy one, simple, straight ahead, but it's handy just to get a feel for calculating these things. And it can be helpful if you're doing a lot of them just to have it up and running in the background, just because sometimes you get burned out mentally trying to do these things for a while. So head on over to the website, www.ptguruconsulting.com. Hover over the About, and you can get to our uncertainty toolkit. We've been here before. I've done some videos on some various things that we do here, how to use some of these different calculators. Scroll down till you find our tolerance calculator, and you'll see, hey, it's a simple tolerance calculator for measurements. It uses a combination of the following inputs, and you can use any or all of these inputs. It doesn't have to have all of them. That's makes it easier. So percentage of reading, percentage of full scale, a floor specification, or resolution counts. So we're just going to click on tolerance calculator. It's going to download. I'm using Chrome, so it pops right up here in this bar at the bottom. If you're using a different web browser, it may dump it right into your downloads folder somewhere. So you'll have to go fishing for it there. It's one of the things I kind of like about Chrome, that it does do that. So here's our calculator. At the top, it says tolerance calculator. Pretty straight ahead. What we've got here now is this first section here is our tolerance inputs. The next section is our measurement inputs. And then this bottom section is going to give us our outputs, and we'll talk about why there's two different outputs there. It's just a clarity thing to kind of help you out. So let's work through a really simple example where we have a percentage of full scale and a percentage of reading. So maybe a device says that it's 0.05% of full scale and 0.1% of reading. So we're going to take a measurement at, let's say, 50. 50 what? It doesn't matter. All that matters is that we keep it the same throughout the calculation. So, and then we'll say that the full scale for this measurement would have been 100. Again, it doesn't matter, volts, amps, ohms, grams, doesn't matter, shekels, who cares? It's as long as you keep it the same. Don't mix millivolts and volts. Don't mix mega ohms and ohms. Just keep it the same throughout the calculator. Everything will work out perfectly. So at this point, we've calculated a tolerance. We've got 0.1, whatever unit that we're looking at, is the tolerance of the measurement. Now, what I've also done in here, just for a little extra clarity to help you out when you look at this and you compare these percent of readings versus percent of full scale type specifications that you'll be reading at times, is what the actual tolerance expressed as a percentage of the measurement is. So in this particular case, even though it says the percentage of reading is 0.1, in actuality, because we have to add that percent of full scale to that number, we end up with an actual tolerance of 0.2%. Kind of misleading if you're reading the specs just going, hey, it says it's 0.1% of reading. Well, that other stuff comes into play as well. Now, the next most common thing you'll kind of run into is they'll take this and on top of it, they'll say resolution counts. So a lot of manufacturers will say, maybe let's say in this case, they say 5 resolution counts, and that's just what they expect or what they're stating. So that might be resolution counts. They might say counts. They might say D. They might say LSD for least significant digit. That's what they're meaning by that. And so at that point, we need to plug in what the actual resolution is. So let's say for this 100 volt range, the resolution is 0.01. So that's now going to bump that tolerance up to 0.15. And now we see, hey, look at that. Now the tolerance is actually 0.3, even though it said it's 0.1% of reading. You can see where this can get you into some trouble here if you're not really interpreting the entire tolerance. So this is kind of some important stuff here. Now, let's say instead of giving you a percentage of full scale, so we'll just hit delete there. And they instead say, no, we're going to give you an actual floor specification. So they're going to say easy for me to say, the floor specification is 0.05 volts, whatever the units are. We'll plug that in, and you see we're back at that same number because 0.05 as a floor spec of 100 as a full range is the same number. But That's kind of how it works. That's how you can analyze what your actual tolerance is. And I really recommend you use this, especially when you look at purchasing equipment, and not just go and look at that straight percentage of reading number. Do this math. It takes, as you can see, about 30 seconds to download this calculator and plug in these numbers. And then you can look at that tolerance expressed as a percentage of measurement to tell you, is this really going to meet the needs that I have for this piece of equipment? Thank you. Thanks for checking me out. Stop by. You've already been to the website because you've downloaded this, but stop by it anyway, www.ptguruconsulting.com. Check out the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud and TuneIn and all the other platforms. And also check me out on YouTube. I hope you have a great day.